And we are live. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our CASP Academic Year Kickoff Student Performance Day 3. We're going to go ahead and get started. As always, my name is Kimberly Rodriguez Jimenez. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. I am the CASP office manager, and I will be the one hosting this wonderful performance today. I'd like to go ahead and introduce our guests for today. Maria Batres. Maria, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. My name is Maria Batres. I am a fourth year with a communications major and a literature and writing minor. I am a CASP 2017 part of the CASP 2017 cohort, and my pronouns are she, her, hers.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Maria. So Maria will be performing a couple of spoken word pieces for us today. We are very, very excited to have her present those for us. And for each piece, she'll go ahead and give us a little bit more background and context regarding the inspiration and the story behind all of those pieces. So the first one she'll be presenting for us today is called In Reverse. Maria, would you like to tell us a little bit more about the piece?
Yes. So In Reverse is basically about the way that I coped with my grandfather's passing last year, I believe. Yeah, last year around like March. And it's just like talking about the way that I was able to develop those feelings and get through that hard time, especially since I was still dealing with school and all of that. So I'll go ahead and start. The day my grandfather died, I laid in bed, picturing the way vultures fly around the roadkill. That night, I had a dream, and in my dream, everything went in reverse. The sun came up instead, and Satan never convinced Eve to eat the forbidden fruit. The tree went back to being a seed, and God took back the land, took the water, took the sky, took day and took night. God said, "Let there be light," and everything turned pitch black. And the universe, well, it just was not. In my dream, the vultures didn't have wings, and life was nothing but a thought.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Awesome. And thank you again for sharing, a little bit more about the context and like the grief that came to inspire that piece as well. So thank you for that. The second piece that Maria has prepared for us is called Easy Days. Would you like to talk a little bit more about that piece?
Yes. So Easy Days is about kind of, well, it's a lot more personal than the other piece, but it's just about like a daily struggle that I have coping and just like trying to live life with a like constant thought of trauma that I went through, and just yeah, basically that struggle of like trying not to think too much about something that I have no control over, and just trying to cope my way through it. Um, uh, I'm doing 3 pieces, and as you noticed, like they're all going to be pretty short. Okay. Today was an easy day. Today, the thought of him didn't invade my head more than once. Today, I laughed and I let my chest rise and drop without worrying about all the space I was taking up in the room. Today, I took a long, hot shower and I didn't time myself to stop the overthinking about life. I let my body soak under the water, felt how my hair tried to weigh me down and keep me grounded, making sure I don't attempt to fly again. So that's the second one.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And again, like I feel like even though you mentioned that a lot of these pieces are on the shorter side, like at least for me, and also because I did have the opportunity to read them before we shared them today, like I can tell how much like emotion is behind all of them. So I'm sure a lot of our viewers will see that as well. Thank you again for sharing. And then our last piece that you have for us is called Bloodstains. Want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yes. So this last piece is kind of like an ode to my parents. or like the poem is just like dedicated to them and like their sacrifices and just everything that they've done for me. And it's my way of showing them that even though and it's kind of weird that I'm like consider myself a poet and can't really express my feelings just like out loud all the time. It's just my way of showing them that they're constantly on my mind and I like appreciate everything that they do for me. So this one says, when I asked what it felt like to try and not cry, she told me it was like there was bees in her throat swarming up and pushing against the gate of her mouth. He said it was more of a storm in your brain, destroying everything in its way. And so later that night, when I remembered my mother's stories of the river and my father's hands covered with calluses, I opened the gate and I let the storm destroy the bees, and I begged for superpowers. It didn't work, but if it had, I would turn back the clock the way my mother's hands turn knobs, and I would swing in my father's arms all night long. The last one.
So beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And again, I'm sure a lot of our viewers as well are very thankful for you sharing such a personal part of yourself. But yay, but those are the three pieces that we had. Again, short, but very, very powerful and very, very heartfelt as well. So now I wanted to go ahead and swing into our Q&A section just to also have our viewers learn a little bit more about yourself and kind of what role spoken word has in your life, both in and out of like your student life. So the first question I have for you is, what made you start writing spoken word? Like, how did you get started? When did this new passion develop?
So I started getting into spoken word my junior year of high school when I started writing actually my personal insight questions to apply to UCSD. I had a lot of help from my English teacher, Mr. Kelly, and I started realizing there was a lot of like feelings that had to be developed. And so I started listening to a lot of poetry, button poetry. I don't know if you've heard of it, but they have a Facebook page, and I would spend hours just watching people perform. I started going to open mics. I myself just in that process started writing, and after I went to open mics enough to like get myself up there, that's when I think it like I started taking it super seriously because I was able to just get that courage because I was writing. And I started performing as well. So yeah, I think that's pretty much when it all kind of started.
And where do you draw a lot of your inspiration from? I know you said that you attended like a lot of open mic sessions and learned from like, started reading a lot of poetry, but like in regards to like when you write your own pieces, where does a lot of that inspiration come from?
I think for me, well, not only the different artists that I watched on book, but in poetry, but on Instagram, I started following a lot of poets as well. I followed this specific account. I don't know, it has a bad word in the like the account's name, so I won't say it, but I'll like send it to Kimberly and she can probably put it in the description once she uploads the whole thing. But yeah, so I started like following poets on Instagram as well and just seeing the way that other people write and what they write about. I kind of drew some inspiration from that as well. But also just as any writer, not necessarily just poets, drawing from experience and like trauma, like love, pain, my family, just those types of relationships with other people and with myself as well. I think that's a lot of like where my inspiration comes from when it comes to writing.
Mm-hmm. And I know you already mentioned a couple of places like how you were drawing a lot of inspiration from Instagram and your daily life, but are there any specific writers that maybe really got you started on that journey or really maybe influenced like your style of writing as well that like you base your work off of?
Yeah, so I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a really famous book, Milk and Honey by Ruby Kaur. Yeah. So I got that book and then I got her second book, The Sun and Her Flowers. And before I used to write like not extremely long pieces, but just like more on the like lengthier side. And when I got her books, I just saw how she does have long pieces, but she also has like really short ones. And I kind of took it as a challenge of like, what could I be able to capture as much emotions as I did in my long pieces as if I were doing shorter pieces. So I think that's a major inspiration for me. Like I really just got into writing shorter pieces just because of her. Like I took that challenge and I think it's worked pretty well.
Yeah. And I can just look at very quickly at what some of our viewers were saying, and they're also big fans of Ruby Kaur. So I think definitely your love for that poet is shared amongst our viewers as well. Thank you for sharing that. The next question I had for you is, do you feel like your passion for spoken word has impacted your journey at UC San Diego? And if so, how? I know you mentioned how as you were looking into writing spoken word, like that was another thing you were searching like through your application process at UCSD, but now that you're here, like do you feel like spoken word has impacted your journey in any way?
I do, definitely. I think I came into UCSD undeclared. I literally had no idea what I wanted to do. Um, and then just because of like I love reading, I love writing, and then I got into spoken word after that. I think it just really pushed me to like, I mean, my minor now is literature and writing, and that's the only reason why I took that minor because I love spoken word so much. So definitely has had an impact. Um, I think also just college is stressful. So like spoken word, just writing itself has really been a way for me to cope and de-stress myself, just like put out all my thoughts, word vomit basically, and then try to get those feelings and those thoughts in order. Um, so I think definitely it's helped both like academically and just in my personal life.
Mhm. Yeah, and I feel like it's always such a good like to be able to not only combine your passion, but your passion actually plays a role into your academics, just actually makes you enjoy the classes you're taking and feeds that passion as well. So I think that's also a really lucky opportunity and also like a great like just choice to have where you can actually do something that you really love and get a good grade for it like while you're at it.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. My next question is, what are some words of wisdom that you would have for somebody that's maybe looking into becoming a writer, poet, writing spoken word, or being part of any other creative art? What would you tell them to just push them into that right direction?
I think for me, it was a lot of just like, just do it. Like, go take that theater class, go take that poetry class. Um, I think that's when, like, just experiencing those classes and like testing out different things is just really going to help guide you and see what you really like, what you don't like. I know personally, I took my first poetry class my second year, and that's when I decided to like get the literature and writing minor, because it really just influenced me. And I think you'll just really find out what it is you want to do with that passion and that talent once you start testing out different things. And I mean, also, it's just a learning experience to take classes like that because I know for a fact that I've taken a lot of tips and tricks that I've learned in class and put them into my own writing as well. So I think honestly, just going ahead and taking those classes, even if it's just for fun, just for units, or it's just something you seriously want to do, it's just always good to have those classes that you can just use as an outlet and a distraction for all of the other stuff.
Mhm.
That would be like my top tip for y'all.
So have fun. fun while you're here because you're right. UCSD or just school, just college, just can be very stressful. And I feel like definitely this past year has shown how messy the world can be. And so just having those outlets where you can just express yourself in whichever way in a healthy manner as well can really help you be like both like in a better emotional, mental, and just physical state as well, because that can be really draining over time. And also, again, like get an A while you're at it.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. And then my last question for you is, what are some future projects that we should be looking forward to? Or what do you feel like are the next steps for your spoken word?
Um, I think I really want to like create and like I don't know, maybe an Instagram account just because that's like the platform that I use the most and dedicate it like solely to my writing because I do put my writing out there, but it's on my personal account and sometimes I'll take it down or I'll stop feeling a little confident about it and just like put it in an archive or whatever. But I think creating a page just dedicated to my passion, which has influenced me to like keep doing it even more because it happens. You get writer's block and like, you know, you can't sometimes you just can't or you're not in the right headspace, you don't have the time. But I feel like having an account where I just put out content is really gonna push me to keep doing that. And maybe that's something that, you know, like with the other question we were talking about, just like making something that or like putting like I said, an account to just push yourself to keep going on with your passion and your talent. I feel like that would be really helpful. So that's what I'm gonna try to do.
Yeah. Way again, like keeping yourself accountable to continuing to do that passion. Because again, life gets messy and busy, and sometimes our priorities shift a little. But always having that balance. But yeah, well, if you do have that Instagram account, we would definitely love to hear more about that and share a lot of your wonderful pieces. Because again, as I can see from what some of our viewers are saying, they're already super hooked on a lot of the work that you do. So I'm sure that they would be very, very, very excited fans for future, well, already poet and spoken word individual. Awesome. Anything else you would maybe want to share with our viewers before we close up our performance for today?
Um, I think just stay out like on the lookout for events like this where you yourself can just put yourself out there, even though it can be awkward and intimidating. Um, I mean, just like really look for opportunities where you can showcase your work and your talent. That's the only way you're gonna get better by practicing and putting yourself out there. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I would definitely like to say, like, thank you so much for accepting our invitation. Like, I was very excited to have you come and join us today. And again, like, I'm sure all of our viewers are really excited and, like, are so happy that they got to hear a couple of your pieces. And hopefully we get to hear more from you and some other organizations also get to hear more of your pieces. But other than that, that is it for our performance for today. Thank you so much, Maria, for joining us for today. I really appreciate it. Our viewers really appreciate it, and they definitely appreciate all of your wonderful words and are definitely looking forward to seeing more from you. Thank you to everyone who joined us today for our live stream, or if you decided to come back and watch this video at a later time, thank you for doing that as well. Definitely keep an eye out for Maria's Instagram because we will definitely be sharing that once it is available and you can keep on checking out her amazing work. Other than that, that is it for today. Keep an eye out for the last day of the academic year kickoff. It'll be tomorrow. And we still have a couple of cool activities. So watch for that. But other than that,
Thank you so much.
thank you, Maria. And keep an eye out for her because she is a talent and we can't wait to see what more she has to show. But thank you all and have a good rest of your day.